And if you can share it with Shelley, she can, there may be one or two others that we want to share it with.
Yeah, what I'll do is when we're done, I'll upload it in a YouTube link. Then that way you don't have size problem, and then you can easily share that with whoever you'd like to.
Great. Well, thank you for taking this time. Maybe it would be good, Shelley, could you take 3 minutes, kind of the purpose of the call, and then Dave, just a brief self-introduction, then
sure.
Then we can go into Q&A or something.
Sure, 100%.
So we have been exploring the possibility of obtaining alternative financing for our renovation projects at Highland Village and Woodlands Village that we would like to commence this coming summer in 2022. And our traditional lending route has been unsuccessful. We first reached out to KeyBank, right, even at Dave's suggestion that, you know, your existing lender is always the way to go. And they came back wanting to do very little on Woodlands and nothing on Highland Village. So now we're exploring the possibility of some alternative financing options.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Well, Paul, would you like me to just give a little background on myself? Would that be?
That would be great. And
okay.
Remind everyone where you actually are sitting.
Sure, be happy to do so. Name is Dave Cotter, so owner, founder of Integrity Capital. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I've been running this since I was a senior in college at ASU. So I started this almost 19 years ago and been doing commercial mortgage finance structure ever since, all the way through the lovely 2008 and even up to today. So we act as an agent on behalf of clients such as yourself to procure, you know, debt financing, equity financing, you know, both on the first, mezzanine financing, equity structure, et cetera, et cetera. So we have, you know, a lot of different financial institutions, investors, equity partners that we've developed over the years to procure debt for projects, you know, apartments, self-storage, industrial facilities throughout Arizona, all throughout the country.
And we met Dave for Tim. Tim attended an AMA event, a golf event, I think.
Yep.
And Tim was sharing a little bit about Bella, and there were more than the bottom line.
Yes.
And really connected with that. And so Tim put Dave and I in touch, and that's how we connected.
Got it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh.
Can you just share, Dave, a little bit about the size of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's myself. We have a loan processor, Jenna. We have 3 producers. 2 of them are here. We just opened a location up in Utah, and so we have we're 1 up there, and then we're hiring 3 more, and then we'll be opening an office in Dallas and then Idaho. So right now there's 6 of us, soon to be 8 after this weekend, and probably end up about 20 by the end of next year.
Then how many transactions? What kind of volume, say have you done this year?
Yeah. Let me give you.
I don't know if this year is typical or not.
Yeah, it was certainly a little bit of a better year than in past, but we did. Just kind of pulling up my ticker sheet for the year. So not including some of the stuff we're still funding before the end of the year, which is make Christmas quite interesting, but we'll close out the year with probably about 120 million funded this year. You know, so yeah.
And is most of it, well, what is your sweet spot in terms of type of loan and type of product that, is it apartments, is it commercial, hotels,
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
million, 5 to 10 million? What is?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you it's not hotels, but it never has been. But so the core for us, Paul, is apartments. Self-storage is like we're the number one self-storage finance on Google. So we do a lot of self-storage financing, industrial, and then single tenant, triple net, and then we just happen to do a lot of car washes. That was not by an intentional design. It just ended up happening that way. So, and then I'd say size is usually, 5 to 20 million kind of range. 5 is usually the minimum that I look at, and typically it's even closer to 10, but.
You hold on just a second.
Yeah, please.
Someone should be answering my. Oh, hold on. Can you just leave it, please? I'm on a call.
Oh, no problem, sir. We'll leave it right at the front door.
Thank you very much. Someone's delivering a gift at the front door. So
You got to love technology. It'll get you even at
technology. I can see him and talk to him right there.
saves us the headache of someone stealing our package. So.
That was the balloon that said "Happy Birthday" to me.
Yes, tomorrow's Paul's birthday.
Happy birthday, Paul. Happy birthday. That's awesome.
Yeah. So sorry.
So yeah, size.
Storage up in have done storage up in Flagstaff by any chance? Because a friend of mine who owns a lot of storage up there just refinanced.
I have not. I've not done anything in Flag. So no, but it's an area that we're very familiar with, and we've even. I mean, I'm developing one myself up in Utah right now. So
okay, great.
And I know this is a little bit off topic, but Dave, if you would feel comfortable sharing a little bit with me, just because Paul and Dennis, and for sure some of our other investors, kind of your story about how you were raised, and then what happened to you in your middle life.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to do so. I'll give you the truncated version. But so I was originally raised in Utah as a Mormon, and then through a series of events, I ended up moving down to Utah to run away from God and religion, and then I ended up, getting married, built this company up, became a workaholic, ruined my marriage because this was way more important, and then the market crashed. I got divorced. The market crashed. I started losing everything and ran into a couple of Christians that, just started to talk to me. And then I ended up showing up at Scottsdale Bible Church. And I just drove in.
Great church, by the way.
So, and then I ended up meeting the Lord after the 5th time. I was actually offended because they were talking about sin, and it hit everything nail on the head, and I didn't like that. So I was going to leave, and a guy grabbed me by the shoulder and shared the gospel with me, and and I was born again.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
And I am now an elder at Scottsdale Bible Church. So.
Wow. That's good.
So it's been a wild journey.
Did you ever meet a good friend of mine who, Beasley was the missions pastor there for a while?
Yeah, Fred Beasley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that anymore. I think maybe he retired.
Yeah, he's retired. So in fact, Fred came back. Gosh, I think he was back for the missions thing. I think he might have popped in but yeah, I remember he was probably at the sunset a little bit when I first came, which was a
Okay.
little bit over 11 years ago. So-
Yeah, did you ever run into a Palestinian believer, Labib Madnat? I know he was connected.
No, never heard of him.
I think Scottsdale supported his work in Israel, Palestine, and with the he was part of the American Bible Society and the Bible societies in the Middle East.
Ah,
Yeah,
I know they have these big missions thing, and I know it's always really fun to talk to them and just
yeah.
hear where they're all at.
Well, well, thanks for sharing that. It's I don't know. It's always a difficult. Some of our journeys are difficult and challenging, but
Yeah.
as you found out, God is faithful
Yep.
and renews and gives hope, and that's
And
great.
continues to do so.
Well, yeah, well, we certainly should stay in touch. So why don't we pivot to what our needs are, and maybe Shelley, you could just in general. I don't know if you have the action on this, but my memory and the information I've seen is we're looking for somewhere between $14 and $16 million allocated to 2 projects. I don't know if it's sort of equally allocated or it's like 10 million for one and 5 million for the other.
It's pretty equal. It's
Pretty equal. Okay.
maybe $1 million apart, but
Yeah. And then, can you answer this question right now? I don't know if it is that. Over how many years would we be executing the rehab?
our preference is to do it over the course of 4 years. Originally, when we had our conversation, we had talked about it doing over the course of 3 years. However, given the magnitude of the project and the way that we're planning to do this, we really would feel more comfortable doing it over the course. We think we'd be more successful in the long run doing it over the course of 4 years.
And the management team's comfortable with that. And that's their desire to do it.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, good. So we won't ask them to do it in 1 year.
Good call.
Let's.
Graham.
Yeah. Okay, so that helps me. So if we're looking at 16 million, that's about 4 million a year, according to my mental calculations, or 3 to 4 million a year. So, okay, so that gives me a good framework. And they've, so how are you thinking about structuring something like this? Is it based on draws or annual budget? I mean,
well, virtually. So there's a couple of different ways. We've already talked to and done some underwriting with 2 different groups, and actually there's a third at probably the little earlier in the stage that possibly could be a player as well. But they're all going to do a mezzanine structure, so they'll have an intercreditor agreement with KeyBank, just in terms of the language legally. If it's 14 and a half or 16 million, whatever that number ends up being, some of the groups prefer to just give you the money, say, here it is, use it however you want to. One of the requests I had, or one of the asks that I had, was, could we do it on a draw where we're not going to get charged on the money out of the gate? That was certainly a request that I had. Their response to that was, we could probably do a hybrid, where there's a portion of it, and then there's some time that we start, kind of, forcing it to eventually be out, so that it's not out for this full 4 years, because obviously they want to try to hit certain returns. So I think that's a negotiation thing that we'll have to work on. depending on how you guys want to structure this over a 4-year period.
So could you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Would it be like funding so much a quarter over 4 years? Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's no one way, I guess. So, if you were to say, if they said, hey, we want to, I mean, one of the ways we've seen is where they'll say, hey, we're going to give you a quarter of it now, and then meaning draw on it now, you get the quarter, and then we'll give you another, the rest of it, in a year, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or if it's they say want to give half now, and then we'll hold it for a while and then give you the rest of it, in the second year or something. I think most of the groups are probably hesitant to just do little draws every 4 years, just because it ends up being difficult for them to hold on the money and not get a return.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a mezzanine position, they want to be making a return on the money. So
I guess what I'm hearing is they're probably not inclined to do draws over 4 years. They'd rather get the money out fairly quick.
Yeah.
So the other thing is they would, on the other extreme, they would release all the money, and would they then control what we do with it? No.
No,
So then we set up our own draw operation.
You could set up your own draw operation. You could put it in the bank, and then you could just do your own draws.
Yeah.
A lot of times what they'll do is depending upon your situation, the way they'll structure the debt interest is they'll say, okay, if it's 12%, just using this as the number, which is pretty close to what we've gotten quoted. If it's 12%, they'll say, we want to do a current pay of 8, so that it's paying on that now,
Right.
And then we'll accrue the 4, right? And then you can
Right.
in the back end, type thing, or it might be 7 and 5 or something along those lines, typically. But
okay.
Yeah.
So then, just thinking about this out loud, Shelley, basically, if we took it all up front, then we could find some secure, dividend paying or interest paying investment that could offset their 7 or 8%, whatever it is, with whatever we're not spending.
Yeah.
In theory, yes.
That's an interesting prospect.
Yeah. And again,
Okay.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to some of the information Shelley sent me. You're looking at, let's say 12% with a pay rate and an accrual rate. Is it accruing on a compounded basis? That would be one question. Or is it a simple interest?
That is a good question. I will confirm. I don't think it's on a compound.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Yeah, I don't think it's on a compound. At least I've never seen one. So I'll confirm that.
Would the points be paid at closing?
Yeah, you could, yeah, I mean, like ours would probably be at closing, and then I know that they typically can either do like, hey, we'll do one now, and then you could do the other one on the back end or something like that. I think that's negotiable for sure.
And so the 3 points is 1 for you and 2 for them.
Correct.
Okay, and that's a one-time.
That's one time.
Cost, yeah.
That's one time.
So just in our mathematical thinking, Shelley, those costs then are basically amortized over the 4 years. So talk to me about the balloon part, the accrued part. Would that all be due at 4 years?
Yeah, what would happen is that would accrue. And then when you went to take them out, whether it was you're going to do a global refi
Yeah,
or, sell the property or whatever that ends up being,
yeah,
and that would just be the lump payoff balance that you would pay at the time.
yeah.
And I believe you mentioned that it would be coterminous with our existing note, correct?
Correct.
So 2028.
I believe so.
Mhm.
Well, I have to
So-
check a couple of those things, but yeah.
So they would leave the 4% accruing all the entire time.
Okay, that's helpful. Is it 2028 for these two properties?
Mhm.
Okay.
2018 was a very challenging year. We refinanced 7 of our properties. I don't forget that date.
I could only imagine.
Yeah, that was, so, okay, let me see. All we have to do is create an algorithm for this.
Yes, let's say we can create a model.
Shelley's good at that. Shelley and Dennis are good at that.
Yeah.
Let me think of it. So let's see, the original loan, if we take it all up front, the original loan and the accrued, and we're paying the interest 8% or 7%, whatever it is, annually.
Current pay. Yeah, in terms of the frequency, I don't know if that's going to be monthly or annually.
Okay.
We'll have to tighten a couple of those things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, but then at 2028, then it's the original principal amount,
Yes.
15 million or whatever it is, plus the accrued interest.
Yes.
So if we know what that is, we can model that pretty well in terms of refinancing and so forth.
Yeah. Yes. And, just, in terms of timing, you're probably going to be 45-day close. Then they would just work in conjunction with KeyBank, to, work on the intercreditor agreement.
And you do have enough, I guess, experience with KeyBank or other banks that they accept this kind of financing?
They're actually, this group in particular, that's probably at the top of the list right now, is doing one and has done one with KeyBank before.
Okay.
They have a relationship, and so they understand how
Yeah.
tricks are going to work.
And so explain to me what the collateral then is, or the worst case scenario is.
They take a mezzanine position. So
Yeah.
basically what they're doing is they're taking a collateral position against your entity.
Yeah.
And in the event of default, then the agreement is that they can basically step into your position and your entity and manage the asset, so.
Okay, but when they step in, they step in as like managing partner and still have the loan on.
Yeah, they maintain control and step in your position to virtually run. That's the intercreditor agreement language that they're saying.
Right.
We are agreeing to allow you to come in and take over the asset at that point.
And do they have authority to sell the asset then at that point?
Those details, I don't know. I know typically that they would have the authorization. I know there's going to be stipulations around that just from a legal perspective, but I don't, not an attorney, so I don't want to speculate on the minutia.
Well, if that were the case, we'd have a huge, huge tax, since we've had these properties for
100%.
decades.
Yeah.
So that would be something we'd have to understand.
Yeah, we can get a copy of the language too. I can get a copy of that for sure.
Because the only scenario I'm thinking about, Shelley, is where interest rates will be in 2028, which would then determine loan to value, debt service coverage, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And we have, I'm sure with Dennis's help, we could model that and say what do some what ifs and get comfortable with that prospect probably.
Yeah, because you're gonna obviously want to look at, you know, if we're kind of moving forward, you're always going to try to figure out what's that break fee that you guys have right now on that first, right? And
Yeah.
you know, if the rates went up to here, and you know, does it make sense to break now, refinance that, get rid of this capital, pay that, and then you know,
Right.
there's a cost. So
there could be,
And there's a cost to Key Bank as well. That 1%.
yeah, right.
They're going to charge us 1% of our principal loan balance to even.
to even cooperate.
Yes, correct.
But that's in addition to the 3%.
And this is 1% on our current principal balance.
Oh, they
Right.
want 1%. Interesting. Okay.
I think it caps. I think it caps at 500,000, but we'll hit the cap on both of them.
Yeah, so that has to be part of the
Yeah.
calculations if that's the case. Or before I would just roll over on that, I'd probably have a conversation with them. If they want to refinance with us, they'd have to kind of waive that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think I get it now. I've been reading, you know, the emails but I thought that you had, and I may have misunderstood, actually had an alternative. You know, this was like Plan A, and there was
There's
lender with a different. What would that look like?
Yeah, there's another group that also issued a term sheet on it. They're pretty much going to be the same in terms of fees. I know that they were probably a little bit more on the fees, but I'm guessing I can negotiate that, but they did want to definitely have the whole thing go out from day one.
Okay.
That was not negotiable for them.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I was a little, and I haven't seen the language on this other one, but I was a little uneasy with was they wanted this kind of first right of refusal to buy the asset. So if you guys sold it and you got a price from the market, they would accept whatever the price is, but they want the first option to buy it, essentially. So and I said, is that negotiable? And he said, probably not. So and then that was sort of the only uneasiness that I had about those two things. So
well, we're not sellers. Especially if we rehab it,
right.
That would not probably bother me. Even if we were sellers, then it would bother me because it's hard to negotiate a sale when you have someone else has a first right of refusal. Like, how do you get anyone to be serious?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see if I have any other. I thought their pricing was actually quite a bit less.
No, I think they were pretty. Let me just pull up the.
Were they in the 12? I thought maybe they were at the 8% level, but no.
No, I think it was the same kind of current pay structure. So you might have seen the 8 but.
Oh, okay.
So I think their pricing was pretty similar. We do have another group that could come in better on pricing that we're still in the, they just needed a couple more pieces of information and then they wanted a quote on it. So, so they could come in a little bit lower.
Are there any personal guarantees?
Nope, it's a non-recourse. The quote I gave was a full non-recourse with obviously standard provision. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions I have. What I would suggest, if we could get a copy of the Zoom, and then Shelley, if you could share it with Dennis, in between the two of you, or let Dennis do some kind of a pro forma allocation. I do think we have some ways that we can generate some return on having the money to offset some of that interest rate. And we can, once we get it into a model, we can make certain assumptions on that.
That's good.
And you're thinking once we say go,
Mhm.
then it's 45 to 60 days, I think you said.
That's
Yeah,
going to be contingent on key bank. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Were there some other extraordinary fees? I thought I saw something like legal fees or something big deal,
yeah, I think there'll be some legal, that is probably standard, just, in terms of, probably 10,000 or 15. It just, some of it's going to depend on how much you want to negotiate to on
I don't
doc.
know why I thought I saw 150,000. It was for some fee that I didn't even understand what it was.
we're probably looking at a different topic in a different email.
Oh,
I don't think there was, definitely not 150,000 on there. So.
I get 100 emails.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah.
all come together, so
Be a blur.
yeah, I completely understand. So I think the next step, I think, for you guys obviously is, getting comfortable if this works for you guys internally.
Yeah.
And then if so, I think the only other pieces of information was at some point they want to get a, personal financial statement and a schedule of REO. So I think that was the
Yeah.
final piece. So
what I'm hearing, I'm seeing the framework, of what is possible. So what we need to do is step back, and then we'll come back with giving you, under these conditions, we're okay to go.
yes.
And then you can see if you can bring that in.
Sounds good to me. At your service. Let me know what you guys want to do.
Yeah.
We'll try to do
Yeah.
it.
Interesting. Because on the surface, it's very pricey, obviously.
Yeah.
So I want to spend a little bit of time making some assumptions about what we can do with the balance, if you will,
Yeah, completely understand.
which I think we're okay. Yeah.
That's great.
2028, and this is 2022, so we're talking 6 years, huh?
Yep, 6 years.
I hope I'm around 6 years. My shelf life is,
Sure.
I think the Lord has a termination on all of our lives.
He does. Yeah, he's got a pretty good date. We're gonna wrap it all up. So for all I know, with how crazy my kids are, I might be gone before then too. So
Yeah. Hey, if you, switching back to your prior conversation, because we used to have a relationship with Scottsdale Bible and Beasley and others through our mutual friend Labib. I'd be interested at some point of having a conversation with whoever is in the lead of the missions department. I don't know what Scottsdale Bible's interest is in the greater Middle East these days, but we have a couple other churches who are partnering with us because we've got this network of 25 countries and
wow.
hundreds of ministry partners and churches in that region. And
Wow.
it could be a huge benefit to the church to reconnect with churches in some of these countries and to help resource them.
Yeah, I have a pretty good relationship with the missions pastor, which is Ethan Collins.
Ethan Collins.
He's been there for 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. He just renewed up for probably another 5, and he's originally from Texas. Great guy, and is obviously he just has a heart for the nation. So
Is the church pretty focused on missions or more? Yeah.
Very, very much. I know that our focus right now, obviously, always are missions overseas. Obviously, a lot of stuff over in Africa with the school that we developed over there, and so yeah, we're all over the world.
Yeah.
I know right now there is a heavier emphasis on the campaign for the Valley, which is really, how do we bless other churches within the Valley?
Yeah.
That, might be limping or, struggling, and that we can come along and either provide, just, leadership support or financial support or whatever that is. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. Shelley, could you make just a note? Cindy is on vacation, but
Mhm.
if you could ask her when she gets back, just email her to send, we call it our kit, the kit, so they can understand what it is strategically.
And the kit. Okay.
It's called the kit.
All right. As long as she knows what that means.
It's you could say the website kit, but it's a website with a number of short videos and a few documents that someone can get through them in about 35, 40 minutes.
Okay.
But it does explain very succinctly kind of what SRU does. And
Yeah.
we do partner with a number of churches or Christian businessmen and women. Primarily, it's a group of 25 families that have come together in partnership, and churches and a few foundations. And we all pool our resources and share the cost of due diligence and consultant team that is very familiar with the Middle East and makes recommendations to us on things that are sort of high impact funding.
Well, I would be very interested, obviously, happy to try to make connections over at the church, but obviously we're very engaged ourselves, with our firm just in the poor and disenfranchised. And I have a separate organization called h3phoenix.com that we do a lot of stuff for. We raised $40,000 last year just to do a bunch of stuff with homeless kids. And so
Great.
very interested in doing something like that.
Well, I'd love to share with you. Any chance you're familiar with Dave Cabin?
I know him well, and I'm actually neighbors with him right down the street where my office is. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, it really is a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw it.
In fact, Doug Napier, the president, Cabin, is he's probably going to be on our board for H3 Phoenix. So, we're and I'm actually doing a deal with his son and have for years with Dale. So
so Dave and I have known each other for a long time, and he's been working out of some of those down times, but he's basically doing a great job. And recently he's become a partner in our partnership too.
Oh, cool. That's great. Yeah. It's fun to see what they're doing.
Yeah. Hey, well, great. Shelley, thanks for setting this up.
Thanks, Shelley.
Or whoever did. Yeah, you did.
Michelle,
Shelley.
Yeah. But so we'll take next steps. If we can get the Zoom call with Dennis,
I will.
I'll ask Dennis to put together an initial kind of analytical pro forma, which I'm not able to do, but he and Shelley are great at that kind of stuff.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time, and it's nice to meet you. And Shelley, it's good to see you again.
you as well.
Right.
Have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you guys, and I will make sure to send this off to you here in a couple of minutes.
Great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, Shelley.